Welcome to the podcast, dear listener, that currently has no title, a subsidiary of Gooch Enterprises.
Oh no.
I'm Andy,
And I'm Jacob.
and collectively we've owned 20-something cars, and we're going to talk about cars. We're here to talk about cars. We have a lot of stories to tell, and y'all don't know who we are, but right now, this first one, we're just going to talk about introductions, who we are, what we drive, what we have driven, dumb things we've done with cars. So, let's start with you, Jacob. What was your first car? How did you get into cars? You know, what really got you into it? And how did you get to where you are today? What was your first car?
Well, my first car was a 2000 Ford Escort ZX2
Yeah.
in the candy apple red. Stick shift, of course.
It was red? I thought it was silver.
Red. The dark metallic red that some of the Tauruses came in. Wasn't a bad color.
Oh, like my dad's Taurus. The
Yes.
05? Oh, okay.
Not a bad color.
No, not bad.
It was a one-owner car.
Not bad with American Racing Estrellas on it.
Right.
Those look good on every old sheep-ass front-wheel drive.
It wasn't a bad car. It was a one-owner. Not too much wrong with it, and it was a good car, but I totaled it within the first 2 weeks of having it by rear-ending a tow truck. So pay attention when you drive, because I was new to driving and I was looking at my phone.
How old were you?
I was 18. I didn't get my license until I was 18 because in California, where I'm from, you have to, you are required to take a bunch of driver's ed and then take like 500 hours of driving.
The hell?
To get your learner's permit. And I figured I'll just wait till I'm 18 and you don't have to take anything. You just got to take the written test.
Mm-hmm. That's how it is here
and the
too.
driving
Except,
test. But that was it. So.
Yeah, when here in Nevada, where we are right now, at least in Elko County anyway, it's as soon as you're 18, you can get your permit with a written test, or I think you get like a reduction in hours or something for getting your license, because mine was something like 100 hours of daytime driving and like 50 hours of nighttime, or maybe it was 30, something like that. My time ended up being mostly nighttime because at the time I didn't have I had the Cutlass, but it wasn't running, and I had a bunch of friends that had some sweet ass cars, so I got most of my hours in the Cobalt SS.
That's a fun car to have some hours in.
And the Focus ST, Jake's car.
Mm-hmm.
And, I had some time in the Corolla. I think I had a little bit of time in the Camry, back when that car was still nice and not a piece of shit, because we destroyed that thing.
Right. And I think you asked what are some other cars I've had. I'm not going to go through my entire list of cars.
Name the ones that are interesting, at least.
That's what I was going to say. I've owned 21 cars since I was 18. And I'm on my 21st car, I should say. Interesting cars. I had a
E34.
couple Buick LeSabres. Those are
A couple?
Yeah.
Oh,
I
yeah,
had
that's
Nick's-
right, the two-door. I forgot about that car.
I had Nick's old Buick, and then I had a two-door 84 Limited.
That was a sweet car. I saw that thing get hit.
Before it got wrecked. I had a 84 Celica GTS, the cool pop-up headlight, rear-wheel drive Celica.
Forgot about that.
Not the Super Mark II or MK2 Supra.
No, the one that actually looks good.
Yeah. I've had plenty of Hondas.
Those first-gen Supras are nice, though.
I did have an E34 535i with a ungodly amount of miles on it. And that
thing was solid. That thing, like, it may not have been, but it felt like it was as reliable as a hammer.
Oh yeah, it was. We drove it up Mountain City, remember?
Yeah,
and that
I
thing
remember.
handled like a dream.
It didn't want anything less than 70.
Oh yeah, and I mean it had transmission problems. It slammed into gears, all that, but it still drove beautifully.
Well, that's the M30, right? That's the motor.
Yes. Wait. M30 or M60? I can't remember off the top.
M60 is the V8, I believe. I thought M60 was the big. I don't know. We have the internet at our expense.
Right.
What's the here? I'll look that up real quick.
Well, while he's looking that up, it was a great car. Like I said, it did have some transmission problems, but the thing it accelerated quickly. It was unfortunately the manual, I mean, not the manual, the automatic.
Unfortunately, the manual.
Unfortunately, the manual. It was the automatic, which was saddening, and it had some damage, but overall, it was a good car, and I really shouldn't have sold it, but I did.
So yeah, the M30, that's the straight six, the good motor. 1968 to 1994.
Yeah,
Damn.
It was an M30. So technically a 3.4 liter.
Right, because it's like a 3.4995.
With like Bosch fuel injection or some weird stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Robert Bosch fuel injection.
As far as any other cars, I mean, I've had a couple. I've had a pickup, I had an Explorer. I did have I had a new car, a Hyundai Elantra. That was a good car. And I have my car that I loved and no one else loves, which was definitely the Chevy Celebrity. I love that car, and no one loves a Chevy Celebrity.
At least it's the Euro Sport.
It was the Euro Sport Celebrity with the red trim, which meant nothing. But
well, we had my dad bought this is before I was born or when I was super young. I don't really know. I know Nick was born, but my dad had a Chevy Lumina Euro with the red trim and the itty bitty little spoiler, and that's all you got. But what got you into cars? Were you into cars as a kid, or did you get your license and then realize, oh, I have control over this 4,000-pound weapon and I can treat it like I wish?
I've always been into cars for as long as I can remember. My grandpa and my parents, they were very into NASCAR, and my grandpa was
Bush League shit.
Yep, I saw the whole Dale Earnhardt crash when Dale Earnhardt crashed and burned.
When was that?
It was like 2001 or something, or I don't remember exactly what year that was, but I saw that race on TV when that happened. I was at my grandparents' house.
Damn.
And we were watching the race. We would get together and watch the races. My grandpa was building a 30s hot rod in the garage, and I believe it was a Chevy that he was building, and it was a Buick. Sorry, it was bitching.
Those
and he also had a Chevelle on the side of the house.
Oh, sweet.
And my mom had always been into it too. She had a 79 C10 pickup that we called Old Blue, and it was a previous county vehicle that was orange that my grandpa painted blue and put a 454 in, and that thing moved. But and then as I got into like high school, I mean, I always played a lot of like Gran Turismo and a lot of the old school racing games when like the PlayStation 1 was out, and like
right.
Like for our age.
For me, it was Midnight Club 3.
Oh, yeah.
Dad showed
Dub
me.
Edition?
Yeah, Dad showed me my dad basically sat me down at the Xbox, which he had jailbroken, or I don't know what the hell's done to that thing. It's insane. But anyway, he sat me down with Midnight Club 3, and I think it was in the 78 Monte Carlo that was on there. And he picked everything out and picked a car and then said, okay, well, here you go. Those little red things are races, and follow the yellow things and try and beat people. And I remember the one trick he always taught me was to brush them off, like when you got two people right next to each other and you sort of steer them into a pole or a tree or something.
Oh, yeah.
That was like
Dirty Racing.
15-ish years ago, longer than that probably. Yeah, 15 years ago, because
Dub Edition came out
04, and then I believe it was 04, and then the Dub Edition Remix came out in 05. That one had the TC, the Scion TC.
Dub Edition Remix was my shit. I remember staying up. This was in high school, but I remember staying up all night trying to beat the Tuner series so that I can unlock the GTR, which we all know.
There was a GTR in that game?
Yes.
Oh, I never.
We all know for every teenager or every kid between 0 and
any kid
15
that had seen Fast and Furious.
That had seen Fast and Furious, the GTR is the crown jewel. So unlocking that car was what I wanted, and I remember staying up all night and repeating the last race about 11 times, because when I would come around the last corner, the opponent would push me into a wall.
Oh, dude, I got so pissed at that game. Like, that's where part of my anger issues come from, is I think growing up playing Midnight Club 3 and the bots I always liked stock, so it's like I would never mess with the body and make it freaking ridiculous and put huge wings on it. It was either stock or kind of muscly or lowrider. That's all I ever did to things because I like wire wheels and shit. But then for some reason in that game, it's almost as if when you put the stupid ass body kits and the hoods and the carbon fiber and blah 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 blah, it's for the opponents anyways. It's like that's how you make power. That's how you go fast. Is putting all this stupid shit on your car, not the actual performance upgrades. And I do like that it shows you the limit of your car in those games that you can
upgrade it.
Yeah, you can compare. Like there's people that's like, oh, I got the '69 Charger. Like I was never like that. I was like, okay, well, good for you. You got your '69 Charger. Well, I bought the GTO because it's faster. Maybe not right now, but it has more potential, and it's the fastest car in its class. So that's what I'm driving. I was more strategic about it. I just wanted to win.
Right, and going back real quick with the game thing, with like I said, video gaming was one of the key things that got me that translated into me getting into cars as I got old enough to get a car.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too.
I played, like I said, played Midnight Club, played Gran Turismo, all like the original Gran Turismo 2, because I grew up on Sony, so I played PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, and then sometime in high school is when I got the Xbox 360. I started late on gaming, on Xbox 360. I started in like 2008, and it came out in 04, 05, the Xbox 360. So
7, late 6.
No.
I could swear it was like 7.
No, they redesigned it in 7 to have an HDMI port.
Well, because the Xbox came out in 02, and they stopped making games in 06. Like Driver Parallel Lines was like one of the last games made for Xbox, which was 06 when that game came out.
And yeah, so I kind of grew up, and then in high school I got into the stance scene. And I loved that. I had a thing for that for quite a while.
I like stance. It depends. It has to be done right.
Yes, and I've always liked Hondas. That was just my thing. Never necessarily the ricey kind of stuff. And everybody knows what I'm talking about when I'm talking about ricey Hondas. Some people are going to say all Hondas, but
not all Hondas.
You know what I mean about ricey Hondas.
Oh yeah.
But and I got
like
my first car.
S2K owner we know.
Right, and when I got the Escort, if anybody out there knows what the Escort looks like, there's not a huge aftermarket besides.
I'll probably put a picture up. That's one thing I forgot to mention. For if you stop listening by now, good for you. Whatever, who cares? But this will most likely be going up on YouTube, and then I might try and put it over on something else, iTunes, Shout Engine, something like that. But I will be posting pictures of whatever we're talking about. If we're talking about a specific car, I'll post up a picture, or if pictures of cars that we actually have owned. Then I'll post them up so you can see the exact car we're talking about.
We have pictures, because I don't have a lot of pictures of the cars I've had.
Oh yeah, well you
can find an equivalent.
You don't own a car long enough to take pictures of it.
And that's another thing with me is that, when I moved here in 2013 when I got out of high school, I went through, because I had my first car in Sacramento, and then I moved here to Nevada, and I've had...
That's 5 years, 21 cars in 5 years?
Well, 19 cars if you don't count I guess 20, you don't count the first one.
That's still 5 cars a year.
Yeah, so I've had quite a few vehicles.
4 cars a year.
Yeah. Some, I've had, at one point, or multiple times I've had more than one that have overlapped, but, like, I had the Elantra and the Celebrity at the same time, as well as that Hyundai Accent.
Yeah, we just had this conversation. Yeah. I was like, you had an Accent?
I had an 08 Accent when I moved here, and then we traded that in for the Elantra.
Oh, so it was Escort Accent.
Escort Accent.
Okay.
Then, right before I got the Elantra, I got the Celebrity. Then we got the Elantra. So then we had 2 cars, because the girl I was dating at the time, she was really into cars as well, so that kind of helped. That kind of also
kept you from throwing a brick through the windshield.
And when we had our Elantra, we did, we just did the typical. We don't have a lot of money mods, so like taillights, headlights. We were gonna lower it.
Dark ass tint.
Oh yeah, we got pulled over for that. We had limo tint on that thing. You ever seen that meme where it's like, damn, I can't see shit out of this thing?
Yeah, my dad posted that the other day about the Crown Vic and the Buick.
But
we're driving at night in those cars. That's impossible in the Vic.
Then it's just kind of proceeded to where, if the car would either have an issue that I could not fix, I've had to learn all of my mechanical knowledge myself. Mm-hmm. I didn't have anybody to teach me, so between Google and maybe a few friends that have taught me some stuff along the way. I'm not going to say I've done it all myself, but
Right.
um, I've learned a little bit about each kind of car that I've owned. And I've kind of gotten a collective knowledge of some vehicles. Like, I'm pretty good with Hondas. I know Crown Vics pretty well. Stuff like that. I know Chevy Celebrities very well.
You can strip a 2-valve intake manifold in 30 seconds.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I have some experience with those. But, yeah, I mean, it's kind of escalated. And, it went from a 2004 Escort, and it was an up and down sort of trend.
Oh, yeah. You'll
vehicles.
have shitty cars.
I've had some very shitty cars and some very nice cars.
And you've had shitty cars that were fun, too.
Yeah, and shitty fun cars that really should have just been throwaway cars. And now I have a 95 Honda Civic. 2-door coupe. It's, EX, or not SI. I wish it was an SI. But it was an EX with VTEC, 130 horsepower. It's not a bad little car. It needs some cosmetic work, but it's a good runner. And right now, it's just my daily driver. So, But... Andy, same question for you. What do you drive, and what got you into cars?
Well, see, as long as I can remember, when I was a kid, my grandpa was into cars, my dad was into cars, and my mom was into cars a little bit. My dad was this was like mid to late 90s, early 2000s. My dad was big into lowriders because lowriders were big, and his cousin owned a shop in Hillsboro, Oregon. That's where I'm from. I believe it's West Side Customs. I don't know. I don't know if he's still doing anything, but he was on the cover of Lowrider twice. So nice. I remember specifically the smell of new tires and fresh, brand new off the rack wire wheels, because we would just sit in the like lobby area of his shop, and he had a wall of like True Spokes and Vogue white walls on the wall. Mayo and mustard, as some of the guys call them. And so that's kind of what got me into cars. My dad had some cool stuff. He had his first car was a 74 Chevy Impala. 4-door hardtop, dark green.
Ooh.
Lowered. They torched the springs and the tow bar, which, funny enough, my dad's best friend in high school, the two of them, when he was driving his Thunderbird, he had a 66 Thunderbird. That thing was sweet. When he was driving the Thunderbird, my dad had the Impala, and they torched off the tow bar at his parents' house, at my dad's friend's parents' house. 20 years later, like just like a couple of years ago, like 2013, my dad's friend switches, pull up a picture of 75 Chevy Impala 4-door. But he switches houses with his parents. So my dad's friend got his parents' old house back, and he was doing some digging up in the backyard because he put like a huge, it's crazy. The backyard's beautiful in that house. But he found the tow bar 20 years after they torched it off and threw it in the backyard. After he traded houses with his parents, he went out back and cleaned up the yard and found the freaking tow bar. 2 decades of just sitting in the backyard. But anyway, so my dad had the Impala, and then he had when I was a kid, he had a 79 Cadillac Coupe de Ville, or a Sedan de Ville. Sorry, it was piss yellow.
Seen the 2-door Impala that
pretty much this one right here, actually. That one's not bad.
Seen that this color 2-door Impala that drives around?
There's a 76 Caprice 2-door that's that color.
Oh, maybe it's a Caprice then.
With the big stupid ass hubcaps,
like the factory hubcap. Some lady that drives it, and she's like super good about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen that around town. My dad says he wants to make an offer on it. But yeah, that was my dad's first car. It was a 74 Impala. But he had a 79 Cadillac, and I have a good picture of me and Nick sitting on the hood of that thing in like 2002. Mm-hmm. Old digital camera. It's grainy as hell. Looks like it was shot through a potato. Like, digital cameras sucked 20 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, so it was my dad and my grandpa. I remember playing with Hot Wheels and like I would have a car in my hand, and my grandpa would say something like, "Hey, let me see that," and he would grab it and go, "Oh, like I used to have one of these," and he would tell me all about how he got it and what he wanted to do with it and what happened to it. Like, as far as 3 cars that I know my grandpa has owned, two of them were Hot Wheels. One of those was a 1938 Cord 810, which you should look that up if you don't know what that is.
What year?
38 Cord 810, and I remember it because he told me he wanted the supercharged, but he he couldn't find one at the time. So this was in the early 50s when he had this.
Okay, I can dig it.
Yeah, they call it the coffin nose. And those
one headlight? Or
no, they're hidden headlights. They're vacuum operated.
Interesting.
They're also a front wheel drive.
Look at that dashboard.
Oh yeah, Art Deco as hell. They were not
That's cool.
uncomplicated cars. They don't have, some of them don't have a shifter.
A two-door?
Yeah, some of them are two doors.
Convertible.
So,
Maybe that's just a...
That's a supercharged. So the way that you can tell with most, if it's a Cord, Auburn, or Duesenberg, I think Auburn actually may have used the pipes in other cars, but if it has these sweet chrome flex pipes coming out the back of it, or coming out the side of the hood, that basically means it's the supercharged model. And so it was a straight 8. I believe it was a flathead because it was the 30s. Some of them, I swear, they had 4-speed transaxles, but they were front-wheel drive, and they had vacuum-operated shifters called Select Shift. It's really cool.
I've heard that.
What you do is you like select your gear before you want it. So it's like, let's say you're in first and you're getting up to speed and you want to skip second, go to third. What you do, you take the thing and put it in third, and it's only about like that big, like half a foot, and you put it in third, and it stays in first until you put the clutch in, and then let it out, and it's in third. So you plan your shifts. You shift ahead. It's like driving an old Datsun on a twisty road. Like you gotta, not so much in the shifting, but you gotta plan your stops accordingly. You gotta predict a little bit. You gotta know the road.
Right.
But anyway, so he said he had one of those. He said he had a 46 Chrysler Town and Country convertible, which is the fully wood paneled one.
Oh, nice.
And damn, is that a pretty car. But those things are like 140 grand now, which is insane. I bet he had wished, even, by the time he died in 06, he was 70. Even by then, he probably wished, damn, I should have kept some of these cars I had.
Yeah.
And him and his brother, I think, bought motorcycles for dirt cheap, rode them around the country until they died, and took a bus back home. just for the hell of it. Yeah. And so he had that. I hear the stories all the time. There's a lot of stories about Grandpa's Porsche. Like, I hear a lot of those stories. And I don't know what it is, or what it was anyway, but based on what he was doing at different times in his life, I think it was either an early Porsche 912, which looks like a 911, drives like a Beetle, or it was a 356, which is a hoard-up Beetle. But really, I don't mean to, shit on the Porsche. I love air-cooled Porsches. I think they're fabulous cars. But but still, it is what it is. It's the visceral Beetle experience. It's Beetle plus one.
Right.
It's just driving a Beetle, but so much nicer. And they look better. But so he had some kind of Porsche, and I heard stories about it. But so he was into cars a little bit. He got married in '67, got rid of the Porsche, and he had a Dodge van, and he had a Ford Courier, '75 Ford Courier.
Oh, yeah.
It was orange. I have one picture of it. And then later on, I think in the 93, 94, he bought a Ford Ranger. It was a base model, no AC. I mean, it was Portland. You don't need freaking AC up there. But it was a base model, 4-cylinder, 5-speed, and it accumulated like 20,000 miles.
What color was it?
It was green. It was dark green.
Did it have white as well?
No.
My grandpa had a 96 or 97. It was an extended cab, but it was the, 2-door extended cab, a long bed, I think. No, short bed. I don't think they had.
Oh, hell, I don't know.
Short bed.
I don't know Rangers.
But it was dark green with metallic flake in it. And he bought it brand new, and it had a white trim on the underside. It was a custom ordered, I think.
Yeah, my grandpa's, if I remember correctly, had just the black plastic, shitty Ford fender flares.
Yeah.
2-wheel drive, 5-speed stick, with about 500,000 Vanilla Roma air fresheners wrapped around the stick. And my parents never had automatics, or never had sticks. Because they never drove stick. They never had a reason to. They had kids. They bought sensible cars, Lumina, but,
Ew.
Beretta. That my mom did have a Beretta. It wasn't the GTZ, though. It was a cool car. but no, I remember my grandpa. I saw him drive that car twice, ever, and I don't remember the first time very well. Uh, but I remember the second time. It was like there was a party or something at the house, and he wanted me to go with them to go buy like a loaf of bread or something. So he took his truck because by that time he was in his 70s and he couldn't see very well, and he knew that, and he knew that he shouldn't be driving. So he would just let my grandma drive and Nick pick the shit out of her the entire time. So that was always good for entertainment. But I remember watching him. I'm like, what is that third pedal, and what is he doing with the stick in the middle there? Like, I was mesmerized. I was like, what is he doing? Because I'd never been around a stick before. It was that and my uncle's 72 Super Beetle, the convertible.
Right.
Those are the only two stick cars I'd been around when I was a kid. And I don't remember the Beetle very much because I only sat in the back seat. I was never up front in that car because I was too young. But Black Betty, that's the car's name.
Black Betty. That song's gonna get stuck in my head now.
I hear it at work all the time. I don't need to hear it anymore. But yeah, so my parents, my dad, my grandpa, they kind of got me into cars and got me into everything about cars and modding them. And my dad's lowrider, I'm more stock, and he likes Malays era American crap, and so do I. But I still like European stuff, and he's got a little bit of taste that way. But I really like German cars. Water-cooled Volkswagens, 80s BMWs, like BMWs as well, but like 80s Mercedes, like the 190Es, and SLs are dirt cheap. Holy shit. Like 72, or this body style ran forever, but it was like 72 to like 88. Those things are dirt cheap. Have you seen that guy around there's some guy around town that drives a blue one.
The beat up?
No, not really. It's just dirty. He never really cleans it.
Oh.
But it's a SL hardtop convertible, and it's blue. It's got the like light, I'd say mocha colored leather interior.
Oh, okay.
Super nice car, and he just drives it all day long. He's got like long hair and like proto hipster, but except he's in his like 50s from the looks of it.
Okay.
But yeah, he drives that thing all the time. Yeah, so that's how I got into cars, and so what are you in the last 6 months? What cars have you owned? And what interesting cars, if you will, have you driven?
In the last 6 months,
thereabouts, just.
I cannot talk. I can't speak very well right now. Oh yeah, by the way, if I sound like crap, it's because I'm sick. Sorry, everyone who's not listening, who is listening. You never
Syphilis.
know. Herpessyphilides.
I thought you were going to say herpessyphilitis.
I was thinking of it.
Herpessyphilite.
Okay, so in the last 6 months, that would put me back to, I don't know how to math. November?
Shit, I don't know. Yeah, November, October, something like that.
Okay.
What have you driven since then that's
October.
interesting?
I believe in October I had the Monte Carlo.
Really?
So, yes. So that was...
I just bought... You didn't have that. I just bought the Eagle in November.
Yeah, I had the Monte Carlo when you had the Eagle for like a day.
Really?
Yes, because I moved out to Spring Creek after you bought the Eagle, and then I still had the Monte Carlo for like a week, and then I sold it.
Huh. Okay. Anyway, go on.
So I had an 84 Monte Carlo that was previously Andy's. It had, somebody cut the springs on it and all that, but
That was a sweet ride when I first bought it.
It was a good car. I mean, it
just needed suspension, or you had to live with how many tires it ate up, really.
Chevy 350.
305.
305, sorry. I wish it had 350.
165 angry California horsepower.
Yeah, it was a California vehicle.
That motor actually makes more power than the 49 state version.
Yeah, the California 305 V8, and it had it was a quadrojet, computer-controlled quadrojet, and then it was a
great noise.
TH...
It was a TH250. It was
TH250.
They had 4 trannies in those cars by 84, and it was the Turbo 200 Metric, which is a piece of shit. And then they had the Turbo 250, which I asked some guys about it. Said, hey, what do you think about this tranny? Because I've never heard of it in these cars before. And somebody's like, oh yeah, they're fragile like glass. And then another guy's like, oh, I had a built 350 or a mildly built 350 in front of them, and it did fine. And it's like, oh, I treat it more right. Or this guy was like, oh, I treated mine like shit, and it still held up. And I'm like, So I never really did any neutral drops or anything. I think I did one. But I mean, it would take a burnout just fine. And it shifted good. Like, really, that was a solid car. Like,
Yeah.
other than the Eagle, that was the nicest car I've owned. That was a very solid car.
So yeah, that car was good. It did eat tires like a motherfucker, but I mean, that was a given with how the suspension was.
Mm-hmm. That thing had stance. Holy hell!
And it was great. It was great when I had it. I kind of got pretty attached to that car.
I got attached after it left.
And I'll be honest, I shed a couple tears when we drove away after we sold it. I was pretty sad.
Yeah,
you know?
I was like, yeah, that sucked. I've never had to do that before because I've never sold a car. I've only ever sold one car, and it was that car. So it's like
it was tough, and so, but the guy who wanted it, I'll go into that real quick. He came into my work multiple times, offering me various amounts of money. It was an older Hispanic gentleman who
he was into it.
He really wanted it. He's, he had a cane and he was kind of, he was limping, but he said it reminded him of when he was younger and he wanted something he could fix up and get it painted, and he had all these big plans for it. He wasn't going to make it into like a lowrider, and he wasn't going to like make it a donk or nothing like that, but he wanted to fix it up and make it nice.
Yeah.
And that made me happy because he was going to be able to do that, and I was not at the time.
Right.
And so he came in eventually, and he offered me $1,800.
I thought it was 16.
It
was 16 because it's double what I paid for it.
$1,600.
Which that gave me a taste of flipping cars. I could totally That's something I would love to do because I am terrible at working on cars. Driving cars is fun, yeah, sure, but it depends on the car. But I would love to be a collector. I'd love to just have my entire job just buying and selling cars. And the best part about these Malaise era crap is you buy like an RS Camaro, like a stick 3-point who gives a shit V6, and throw some exhaust on it, put on a set of IROCs, paint it candy red, and sell it to some douchebag with a mullet for twice what you paid for it.
Oh yeah, and that was the thing.
Bush League solid American citizen.
The Monty needed some work. It needed a cam.
But it was clickety, but that's a small block Chevy.
And it needed some various stuff that had to be done. And
you know how much a cam was for that?
Like cheap, wasn't it?
$65 for a medium lift cam for that.
But it needed stuff that was going to be out of my range of ability to do it. Like I wasn't
in my range of
engine.
care.
You know what I mean? And so, yeah, and it needed the entire suspension on pretty much the whole car needed to be redone.
The rear end was pretty good.
Yeah,
it was a little soggy. The upper control arms weren't great.
But it needed a lot of suspension work. But other than that, it was a great car. But the dude offered me a fair price for it.
Oh yeah,
and actually probably more than it was worth.
Oh hell yeah, more than it was worth. But that's the name of the game.
And the guy really liked it, and I ended up selling it to him, and I took that money and I paid Andy because I had still owe him a little bit.
I think it's 4.
3.
I thought it was 4.
I don't know. Well, we'll deal with the numbers later.
I don't really care though. Forget about it.
Anyways, and I went and bought a Ford Tempo. I know what someone's probably thinking right now. A Ford Tempo? Why the fuck would you buy a Ford Tempo?
My dad had an '84 Ford Tampon. That was his actual... Okay, so I say his Impala was his first car. He also says that too. But the first car that was given to him was an '84 Ford Tampon.
Well, but here's the thing.
I think it was a 4-door hatchback, liftback.
I have this problem when I have money in my pocket and I'm going to buy a car. I panic.
I also have that problem.
I panic. And I'm like... I literally, unless... It's stupid. I will buy the first car that I look at. Mm-hmm. Unless there's something horribly wrong with it.
Right.
And that's what I did. I went and looked at the Tempo and I bought it. And the Tempo needed a battery and it needed some other, crap. And it was an okay car. It was automatic. It had like 100,000 miles.
But the interior, actually, even the exterior, that car was
the interior was, it was in very good shape for a Ford Tempo. It had no body damage.
That is the nicest damn Tempo I've ever. It was 4-wheel drive too.
Yeah. Yes.
The 4-wheel drive Tempo that I'm sure a lot of people don't know about, but. You learn something new every day through our podcast that is yet to be named. But
yes, it was an all-wheel drive Tempo as they called it.
Well, you had a switch for it, didn't you? But like where a sunroof control would be.
However, it had this terrible differential that it was awful. You could not use it was a terrible system. They made I don't know, like 5,000 of them. I don't know how many they made of them.
Who
They didn't
cares?
make a lot of them. They're tempos. Who cares? But it was a terrible system that if you turned it on in anything but the rain, it would destroy the rear axles, the rear axle things. The U joints would.
They had half shafts.
Yeah, half shafts. The
Like an old
U-joints.
Toronado or Corvette.
The U joints would blow.
Here I am comparing Ford fucking Tampon to Toronado and Corvette.
And, and so I didn't have that for very long until an axle broke on me, and I fixed it. It just wasn't the same, and I ended up selling it. And then that is when I got the E34. And I fell in love with that car pretty damn quick.
I did too. That was the best, how much was that thing?
$700.
That was the best fucking $700 I've ever seen you spend. That car was freaking sweet.
And that was one of those things. I saw it on Craigslist, and I was like, mine.
It was on Craigslist?
Yeah.
Hmm.
And I was like, I want it, and it's mine. And I made it mine. And
you should have bought that Touring from the guy that sold you some parts.
I can't buy that. He wanted like $10,000 for it.
What the fuck? Was it at least a stick?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Stick with the roof that opens. It's the full roof. It's not glass, but it's 2 panels, and they both open.
What the hell? I didn't know that. I've never heard of that. You should look that up. Find out what that's called.
He said they are very rare, and I believe him.
Because the Touring, that's what it's called, right? The wagons are the 5 Series Touring.
So E34 Touring.
I've never seen one with a crazy roof before. That's like Volkswagen, like ragtop, like a full top,
not a ragtop,
or like a panoramic sunroof.
Panoramic
sunroof. What you
mean? But let me see if I can.
Is it that high top one there, that blue and silver?
No, but oh god, look at that.
Yeah, they're pretty cars. I'd rather have an E34 than an E30. I'm not a fan of 3 Series. That's not to say they're bad cars. I'm sure I would take one.
That's a 7 Series. No,
but
it's not. It's an M5. It's an
M5 Touring.
They had an M5 Touring?
Hell yeah, they did.
Wonderful.
It combines all the badassness of the M5 with all the practicality.
I'm not finding one with the roof, but
of a fine German station wagon.
But the car, one of the things I liked about that car was the fact that even though it was a BMW, the dashboard was very well organized and pretty simple.
Brand new BMWs are just like that too.
And it was very nice. It had the little trip computer, which a lot of them didn't have. It had the trip computer with none of the pixels burn out. Apparently, that's a very big issue with those.
There's like a dot matrix, like a pinball machine.
Yep, it's like those screens, and so is the display in the It
was orange too, even.
Yeah, and everything worked in that car, except for the locks. The locks, they have those actuators, and they got froze up, and I managed to get the driver's one to work at one point, but. That car just had a lot of electrical issues, and there's a lot of computers in those, and that's understandable. But
you know what's funny actually? Speaking of computers in these 90s German cars, especially BMWs, there was a selling point on like the 750IL, whatever generation that. Right. Are those considered E34? What's the designation for
E34 is the 5 Series of 89 to 95.
Okay,
so
what's the 7 Series? Okay, well, anyway, whatever it is.
I don't know what it is.
But so those like late 80s, early 90s 7 Series, they were sold as having more computers than this space shuttle or something. Like the first, like they had more computers. Like that is rad. Okay, cool.
Yeah, there's
so it's like roof. It's like a moonroof.
Yeah,
moonroof
but they both
is
open.
metal.
You can open one at a time. You can open this one all the way. Yes, you can open this one all the way back, or you can open that one forward.
I bet that is a pretty fucking penny to fix.
You know how many miles that guy's car has? 400 and something thousand.
Which wants 10 freaking grand for it? Damn.
However, it is minty. I mean, it is beautiful.
I don't know. I'd have to find.
He's replaced a lot of parts on it, but
yeah, but that doesn't matter. If it was an M5 Touring, then yes.
It is the V8.
V8. What the hell?
It is a V8.
They had a V8.
It's an
The M60.
Yeah.
Huh.
5 liters or something.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they did have that.
It's a 540. It's not an M5, but it's a 540. So I guess it's a 4 liter. or 5 liter. I'm
Well,
not
I
sure.
thought no, I'm thinking of the M5 just before it, because the M5 just before it was the little bit sharper body with that like rear door window that's like.
Yeah,
Um,
and it was the V8 with the stick, and rear wheel drive.
92 to 96 replaced with the M62.
I think
Ooh, it's a 90-degree V8. I didn't know that. Those are cool. But yeah,
but a
those old
beautiful car.
BMWs are cool.
Yeah, and that car. I mean, like I said, it had a lot of issues. But if you were to give me like $4,000 and tell me to go buy a very good example of one of those, because you can for that much, by the way, you can get one with low miles.
You can get a 325 convertible with a stick for that kind of money.
Yeah,
You can get a nice one.
But you can get a 5 Series, like a 540.
You can get a shitty 750 for that kind of money.
Oh yeah, you can get a 5 Series, but maybe not a 540, but you can definitely get a 535 with all the options with like 120,000 miles for that kind of money, and they are minty clean. And if somebody gave me that money, I would go buy one right now, but it had to be stick.
$4,000. That's a lot of money. Well, it's not.
No.
If I could find an 88 Eagle, find one of those for me. Actually, if there's a picture of them. 19.
What's going on here?
Oh, I don't know. It's a model.
Okay.
1988 AMC Eagle Limited. So AMC was purchased by Chrysler in September of 1987. By the way, for those listening, I drive a 1986 AMC Eagle that's currently pissing tranny fluid all over the place. But
Ooh, wood paneling.
so when Chrysler bought AMC in September of '87, AMC stopped producing cars on I believe it was December 7th of 1987. So they had a shit ton of like overstock, a bunch of stuff that was just laying around that they're not going to do anything with. So what they did is they sold them as 88 models. You know, Oldsmobile did it with the last gen Cutlass, the G-body Cutlass. They sold some 87s as 88s and just gave them a different name. But the 88 Eagle Limited is like way different than the other ones. I mean, it's the same shitty engine. Not a shitty engine. It makes zero freaking power. Everybody's like, oh, straight sixes are freaking torque monsters. They'll pull a freaking house down. I'm like, no, they won't. It can't pull its own goddamn weight. But I get it. I think people think that straight sixes compared to 8 cylinders, the reason they think that they make a ton of torque is that that's the only thing they make, and they have a very wide torque curve. But anyway, so the 88 Eagle wagons, they were given like really fancy trim and nicer interior, and they were really cool. I would love to have one of those, but they're impossible to find.
Oh, I bet.
Eagles in general, impossible to find. Even mine was. I mean, I did not expect there to be one in town. I've never seen another Eagle in town. We live in a tiny ass town, and lo and behold, some guy a couple miles away just has one.
Oh, speaking of those, I saw one the other day.
Really?
There's another one in town. It is the light, like tan color.
Ooh, like champagne color?
Yes. It was a lady driving it.
Is it a wagon?
Yes, just like yours.
Did it have
Stock wheels, like yours.
Oh, the Steelies?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Did it have painted flares, or did it have body color, single tone?
It was two-tone. Like, it was two-tone with two different colors, that light color. It was weird.
Was it like the bronze fender flares?
Yeah.
Those look, the white with the bronze fender flares look.
And it was in very good shape.
Huh.
It was in very good shape, but it looked like I didn't. I just kind of was driving by it. It was over by Les Schwab, and I didn't get a chance to see the plate. I thought it looked like an out-of-state plate in the mirror, but might have been. But it was in very good shape. I didn't see any rust on it. So.
Yeah, that's a problem with those.
And there
cars.
used to be another one around that was all burgundy, I think.
Yes.
My coworker Jordan used to have it.
All the way.
You know who Jordan is?
Yeah.
She used to have that.
Oh, freaking sweet.
I'm pretty sure. I'll text her.
Anyway, but yeah, the burgundy one, the guy that I bought my Eagle from, he owns that car. It's wrecked.
Oh.
It like rear-ended. It rear-ended like a truck or something.
Oh damn.
Because the car is fine. The frame is not bent. It's got a cracked windshield, and the hood is destroyed. The front fenders are pretty effed up. Headlights are falling out of it, and the grill's damaged. So whatever it hit something taller than it, which is kind of hard to find in a car anyway. but now the trucks are so damn huge.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was dark red and it was like super mint. I think it was an '87, like last year. I think it was really nice. He offered it to me for free, and I was like, dude, I totally would if I didn't have 2 G bodies and 2 freaking Beetles laying around. I would totally do it, but that was a cool car. I like that car. It's painfully slow, but
Right.
it's not a terrible car to drive. It's pretty good as a daily driver, and I never use 4-wheel drive, only if I'm going up a hill that I can't handle in 4-wheel drive.
Right.
What's amazing about those cars is that their 4-wheel drive is fabulous. They really will get you hiccups. They'll get you pretty much anywhere. However, in 2-wheel drive, they suck. Like, on dry pavement, you could not spin them if you tried. Okay, so there's a dog drinking water in the background, just ignore that. But you could not spin them if you tried in an Eagle wagon, or any Eagle for that matter, with the 6-cylinder or the 4-cylinder. But in 2-wheel drive, in snow, in ice, in dirt, in sand, in mud, in anything other than dry pavement, it will destroy that one tire. Like, you can't get anywhere in an Eagle in 2-wheel drive. It's crazy, but they pull okay uphill.
Oh, yeah.
Even in 2-wheel drive, it's not bad uphill. If it's loose, it'll have some problems. But 4x4 is great in those cars, and they're really well equipped. At least the later models, 85, 6, 7, 8. Those ones are
Nice.
Yeah, they're nicer cars. They all came with AC from the factory.
Yeah.
By 86, I believe they had dropped the 4-cylinder, so you could only get a 258. I believe, another unfortunate thing, I believe in 86, I think they were all automatic.
Oh, sadness.
Maybe they still had the stick, but I know in 86 they made 6,900 of them in the wagon, which was the best seller. They didn't make a lot of sedans.
There was a sedan?
So Eagle, there was a wagon, there was a 4-door sedan, there was a 2-door coupe, and there was a 2-door SX4, which is the hatchback one.
Speaking of SX4s,
the sporty one, and then there was the camback, which was the freaking 4-wheel drive Gremlin. Like, it's the same thing where they just went and chopped it off at the back just for gas mileage. But there's also the Eagle Sundancer, which I believe we've talked about before.
Yes.
Yeah, the Sundancer is the 2-door semi-targa top convertible. It wasn't Hess and Eisenhart. I forget who makes it. But the same company that made, if you've ever heard of the Celica Sun Chaser, it was built by the same company. So there's the Sun Chaser was the Celica, and then the Sun Dancer was the Eagle. And I happen to think Sun Dancer is a much better name. I think they're really cool. According to Wikipedia, which I don't know how true they are on cars, I've found some errors in their stuff before, but they say that the way that they say it is that no Eagles have appreciated except for the Sundancer and the SX4. And I'm like, that's not true. When was the last time you saw one?
Never.
Exactly. But they're sweet cars. Yeah, AMC Eagle. Look into it, folks. If you need 4-wheel drive and you want something that's actually cool, and you want the precursor to your, what is
Cherokee.
it? No, the Derp Subaru
Outback.
Crosstrek. There we go.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, fender flares and
Yeah.
shit like that. The problem with Eagles, though, is that they have plastic fender flares and plastic rocker panels, so they hide rust very well. And a lot of them are crumbling underneath.
Damn. I didn't think about that.
Mm-hmm.
Real quick, you had asked the other couple of cars I owned. I sold the BMW.
Mm-hmm.
Transmission issues.
How long did that last, though?
Oh, I only had that thing for a month. Sold the BMW, with looming transmission issues. Excuse me. And then bought Andy's brother Nick's old Buick LeSabre. It was an 80 Buick LeSabre, 4-door, limited.
Limited, yeah.
Power windows, power locks, power
Medium-
seat,
Medium blue metallic.
medium blue metallic.
It had the power trunk. It had the. Okay, so this is weird. If anybody has ever seen another one, send it to me on like Instagram or something, or on YouTube, whatever. Power locking fuel cap, which I have never seen before. In 1980, I've never seen that on any car, and I don't mean power locking fuel door because it's behind the plate. You can flip it down, whatever.
Yeah.
No, I mean a power locking fuel cap,
It had a
which is
button that you had
ridiculous.
to spam press to get it to unlock.
Yeah,
sometimes.
key on, and you have to
Yeah,
hit,
it was
hit the
weird.
button like 47,000 times for the damn thing to work, or have somebody outside hold the button and then turn the thing.
It was weird. It was a good car. It only had, what, 80,000, 70?
72.
Yeah, 72,000 miles, and those were original. It had the original window sticker, and, you know...
All the literature. It even
it
had
was in
the
pretty good shape.
papers.
Interior was in very good shape. The exterior was in pretty good. The paint needed to be done, but that was really it.
Yeah, it was actually a really nice car.
Yeah.
Freaking rally wheels, 15-inch rally wheels on that bitch. That
Yeah.
was a sweet car.
And
Even
it
though,
just
even
had
if it
these
was,
carburetor issues that me and Andy both about
I
lost our minds
dude,
trying to fix.
I know hindsight is 2020. It was the freaking base gasket. I know it was the base
Like,
gasket.
I would have kept that car.
I know it had to have been, and I have a base gasket for one of those, the proper one, I believe. I know that I still feel like shit about that. I should have just called you the next day and said, "Hey, let's just throw this bitch on here."
Yeah, it's alright.
But,
But, you know, the past. I sold it to someone who really wanted it. His dad used to have one.
Well, you said it's driving around now.
Yeah,
too.
and he bought a car, but he said he got a car from somebody else, but it's not doing great. It was like an old beat up one.
But it's a runner.
Yeah. So I've seen it driving around. And then I got a 91 square body Suburban. So last year the square body Suburbans.
I thought it was 92. Was the
91.
last year.
91's last year square body Suburbans. Actually, sorry, 91's the last year of square bodies ever. Or period, all square bodies.
Well, yeah, it was by
88
that
was
time
the
it
last
was
for
just the
trucks.
Suburban.
Yeah.
And the Blazer was
Blazer.
dead.
Yeah.
And then they replaced that with the Yukon GT,
Which
or
is
whatever
cool.
the hell it is.
I like
yeah,
those.
I think those are cool.
But this was also a pretty nice example of a Suburban.
Mm-hmm.
Fully equipped. It had power locks, windows, tow package, AC, rear heater, rear AC, all, the center console. It had all the options I think that you could get.
Third row,
Yeah.
like 47 ashtrays.
Yeah. It had pretty much every option you could get besides power mirrors, because there was some of those that had power mirrors, but
Justin's had power
this had the
mirrors.
Dumbo mirrors. Well, it actually had tow mirrors on it that I put on the normal mirrors. It just needed paint. It had nice American racing wheels on it, but it was two-wheel
The
drive.
paint was screwed up. But
Yeah.
the interior, if it wasn't gray,
Yeah, the interior was
the interior
very
was
nice shape.
super nice. Like the seat wasn't
The
even.
dash didn't
fat-assed.
have any. The dash had like 2 cracks in it. It was a very nice vehicle. However, it chugged gas, as you can imagine.
Driver's side exit exhaust
Yeah,
too. which
driver's
is
side exit
weird.
exhaust,
Only
it
this
had-
is the second one I've ever
Was
seen.
it
with that.
342 gears?
Yeah, it was a 342.
Open diff with the TBI 350, 110,000 miles on it, and it was definitely a one-owner vehicle before my friend got it, who sold it to me. It had to have been.
Well, the original owner?
Yeah, the
died,
original owner
didn't he?
passed away in a hotel that he was.
What?
He was staying in this hotel because he did contracting for the hotel, and they let him stay there for free. He was an older gentleman, and
I didn't hear that part of the story.
He died in the hotel.
That
the
must
hotel
have that
owner-
must have sucked for the cleaning ladies.
The hotel owner
Housekeeping.
was friends with the dude and was able to get a power of attorney or something like that to sell the truck to get it off his property because it was just sitting there.
Right.
And so he sold it to my friend for $600, and I bought it for $800. So my friend got a profit off of it, and then I ended up trading it for the Civic I have now. And you may ask yourself, why the hell would anyone trade a very nice square body Suburban for a Honda Civic? And it is gas mileage.
man pedal, and
Yes.
acceleration.
Yes, although that Suburban had some grunt.
Oh yeah, they were.
That thing got up for being, and I was a little bit wary of the rear end, but that was its own thing. But yeah, now I have this Civic, and contrary to what everybody thinks, I'm planning on keeping this one for as long as I can because in my state, you can sell 3 vehicles per year before you have to get a dealer license. However, when I went to the DMV to renew my license on Friday, the lady told me that she said my record says I've sold 2 this year. And she said the number is 3, but she said that it depends on who you go to. Nobody's really going to give you shit about it.
Right.
So I could sell it, but I think the title should be in the mail on Monday. But I just did the clutch, and it has some cancer on the quarter panels. Anybody who's a Honda person knows how that is with the quarter panel rust. But I've got some friends who have already quoted me to fix the rust. And other than that, this was definitely a car that somebody took care of at some point. This is an all-stock Honda Civic.
An unmolested
Honda Civic. It does have 200,000 miles, but it has a stock airbox. It had an aftermarket stereo put in it.
It even has that little air horn thing, the little intake pipe that sits behind the headlight.
Yeah, it's got all of the original stuff. It even had the little nipple that went over the slave cylinder to bleed it.
Yeah.
It had a lot, and it has the little rubber places that go over the back of the headlight.
Which the little boobs, boobs, the little the little boots that hold everything together, keep water out.
Yeah, and
that don't keep water out, but.
So, overall, I mean, what happened, it does have some damage to it. The previous owner, somebody backed into him in a parking lot and pushed the hood down and dented the hell out of it, and in turn, of course, bent the core support. So, it has a hood off of a different vehicle on it, or a different Civic on it, and it's beat up, and it's hard to close, and it's a different color. And the thing desperately needs some paint, but the interior for a Honda, it is minty.
Yeah, it cleans up pretty nicely.
It's very nice. The only thing that needs a coat of interior paint would be the center console piece. It's starting to flake off, but it just needs that Duplicolor black. Yeah, and it's not a bad little car. It's got a loud exhaust because the muffler's detached, but I'm planning to keep it. And just, if I'm going to buy something else, I think I'm just going to keep this and then buy something else. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
That way, you have 2 cars, and I don't think this thing's going to break down. It's a Honda. Yeah, so.
All right. Well, so we kind of went on a lot of tangents here. It's messy, but it's a start. So thank you for joining us, if you joined us, if you're listening. But
if you're listening,
it's fun for us.
out there.
Yeah, it's fun for us. It's we just drive around all night and talk all the time about this kind of stuff anyway. So
I mean, and it's entirely possible that there may be a podcast or 2 that we do in the car if you use your recorder.
Yeah, we should totally do it.
We can choose whoever has the least noisy vehicle.
The Buick.
The Buick would probably be nice. It's,
the Vic is
concert sound 2.
Oh yes. Anyway, so thank you for joining us. My Instagram is andy.strom97. I basically post car pictures and art and stuff that I find that I think is cool. Please feel free to give me a follow. This will be on YouTube shortly. I'll slowly have accounts set up. We'll probably have an Instagram for the cast here. And anyway, thank you for joining us.
Yep. Thank you very much. And we'll see you next time.